Just talk about
Good afternoon. Got any Dukes of Hazzard fans here? All right. A yeehaw on three. 1, 2, 3. Yeehaw! All right. You're all initiated. I'm still on. I'm not on anymore. I guess you got tired of me. You didn't like it? You didn't like the yeehaw? It burned you up? Let's have a hand for Tanner. He's our moderator today. Anybody gets out of line, he's going to tackle you. He knows jiu-jitsu, karate, and 6 other Japanese words. So I'm Tom Wopat. I played Luke Duke on the Dukes of Hazzard, and I can guarantee you we had the most fun of any cast in television history. We had some good fights. We had some good car stuff. We had beautiful women on the show, including our lovely cousin Daisy. And we had some of the best country music stars in the business, along with some really cool race car drivers. So we had a lot of things going on, and it was an awful lot of fun. I started working on it when I was 27 years old, and now I'm 67. I'm a little older. The show we started filming 40 years ago this month, right outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and it was a blast. We had a great time. Nobody knew, of course, at the time that it was going to be a big hit, but we figured it out pretty quick. As soon as it came on the air, it was in the top 20. And in those days, a top 20 show, you were being seen by a third or a half of the country. It's not like today where everything is little niche markets and little cult following people. But we had a big time. We had a lot of fun. Anybody got a question? Yes, sir.
How would you like working with John Schneider?
What's your name? Jason. Jason asks me, how did I like working with John Schneider? It was awful. No, it was great. John and I are best of friends, and we've been working together ever since. We did a Christmas movie shortly after that called Christmas Comes to Willow Creek. We did a Christmas record 3 or 4 years ago together that I produced. And that's really quite good. And actually, we have a limited supply of them over at my table. And if you come by, if I run out of the limited supply, I'll just go back out to the car and get another limited supply. So you've heard all these before, haven't you? That's one of the top 5 hits, that joke there.
You ever work with John Schneider?
John and I have done a bunch of shows together. He's asking about working with John. Back in the early 90s, we did some shows where we would go and we'd have a car. We'd have Sonny Schroyer, who played Enos. We'd do a concert with my band, and John would sing with us. And we've done shows like that on and off for the last 25, 30 years. This year it's going to be a little different, but it's always fun working with him. He's on Dancing with the Stars. Better him than me, I'll tell you that. He's asking here, Carlo is asking if I'm going to go on the show and show him up. I don't need to show him up. He knows I'm a better dancer than he is. So I'm not worried about it. And he's not here to defend himself. Yes, ma'am. What's your name?
Natalie. Question about Smallville. How did you enjoy working on that?
That was great. It was something I think John had suggested to them that it might be fun to bring me on the show. But they wrote the show with a lot of little homages to us. You know, they stuck a song in there somewhere, and I drove up in a Dodge Charger, which was great, and climbed in the window. Yeah, there were a lot of little things that they put in the script to just kind of reinforce the whole connection. It was a lot of fun. I'd worked up there in Vancouver many times before, but that was one of the best places. In the 90s, they shot just a ton of stuff in Vancouver, and I always enjoyed my time there. Who else? What's your name? Neil, what do you got? Do I own a Dodge? Did I ever? I never have. Nope. I'm a Ford Bronco guy. I had to buy a Ford Bronco because I had been driving a little Alfa Romeo Spider when we were doing the show. And I came this close to losing my license. So that thing is just too easy to, scoot around in. So I got a Bronco, which is a little slower, a little bigger, and people get out of your way. Yes, sir. Hold on.
Bill, just curious, how many traffic tickets you've obtained and how many you've been able to get out of?
How many traffic tickets have I obtained and how many have I gotten out of? Well, I've had my share, and more than a few. But not because of just being a scofflaw. I actually, when we were first shooting, I went home with a bunch of friends from the show. And as I was crossing from Illinois into Wisconsin, I got pulled over because there was a warrant for an old speeding ticket. So I had to take my friends from the show to the Rock County Jail and pay my warrant off. And I got a big write-up the next day in the State Journal. But most recently, I've been getting stopped in New York for talking on the cell phone while I'm in the car, verboten. And I mean, now it's like a 5-point fine out of your 12 points. So I found a good law firm who got me out of a couple of those. But being on a show like that, you'll say to the officer, yes, I was actually on a TV show called The Dukes of Hazzard, and either they'll be, oh yeah, I was a big fan, or they'll say, that means nothing to me. Then it's just like they've seen us getting away from the law, and they're not impressed by that at all. So it works both ways. But I've been fortunate. I've kept my license all my life. Hold on a second. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Simcha. I was wondering, how many of the stunts did you perform, and how many were done by a stunt double?
Well, what we did basically was the car stuff was all stunt guys. I mean, we drove into and out of scenes, and John got pretty good at it. I didn't have to do it too much because I was always thinking for the two of us. Fist fights and stuff we always did by ourselves. Loved doing them. I told John, because we had I think in 2 episodes we fought each other. I told him, if you hit me, I'm going to hit you back. So he never did. He got a few stunt guys, though. Then also, if we had a scene that took place in water, John would do it, because I can't swim. But we did anything up high, I'd do it, because he can't stand heights. So it worked out. We had a good situation. What's your name, darling?
Sharon.
What's your question?
I was just wondering about the insurance commercial you did a couple of years back.
Oh, she's talking about, it wasn't insurance, it was Autotrader. They called us up and, this is like 25 years after the show's off the air. And they made us an offer we couldn't understand. So it was a lot of money and we had a blast. We shot it in Louisiana. And we spent 3 or 4 days doing it. And they did a bang-up job. They really did a nice job. They actually kept a couple of my my ad-libs in there where he says, get one where the doors open. And I said, I think they all do. That's mine. But we had a lot of fun making it. And it was, it was lucrative for both of us. It enabled John to buy his little studio down in Louisiana that he's working at now. Yeah, what do you got? What's your name? Frank. What? What's the most ridiculously funny moment on set? Trying to put Boss Hogg in the back window of the General Lee. That was something. But he wore a fat suit. He wasn't that big. So it kind of compressed, and we sticking a cork in a bottle, kind of. Yeah, what's your name? Thomas.
Did you think your show was going to be so iconic at many different levels?
Did you think your show was going to be so iconic? There's no way of knowing that. What we knew is we were having a lot of fun. At the time, there was nothing else like it on TV. A lot of other shows came on pretty quickly after that had a lot of vehicular violence and stuff like that. But actually, if you look back, the car commercials today, the car commercials back then, nobody ever peeled out, nobody ever got air, nobody ever broke it loose, swung sideways. That was all after our show. And our show had more stunts per episode than any show ever before. So it was iconic in the sense that nothing like it had ever been made before. And then you also had the family dynamic, kind of like the Andy Griffith Show a little bit. So we all looked out for each other. We'd get in trouble now and then, but we always figured it out. And we even took care of Boss and Roscoe if they got in trouble. Yeah.
How did you like all the other movies and things based off of
Well, he's asking if I like the other stuff that's been based on this.
I guess the primary thing would be the movie, the remake with Johnny Knoxville. And to be honest with you, I never saw it. I thought it would be kind of like watching somebody take my ex-wife for a date, you know? So I never saw it. I've seen some of the car stuff, which I think is pretty good. From what I understand, though, their movie is kind of a slacker movie. Like these guys had no real point to what they were doing other than just being wise asses. And that wasn't really what we were about. We were just coincidentally wise asses. That's what we were.
What's your favorite jump scene?
My favorite jump scene, I think, is probably the jump over the train. Was magnificent. You know, that's the one that I think that was the longest one we ever did. Yeah.
I was just wondering, because I heard that they smashed more cars on that show than ever before on any other show.
Oh yeah.
Were you always on set? Was it cool watching all the cars?
He was asking about, you know, how many cars we smashed. We wrecked a couple hundred, I reckon, of the General Lees, and probably about half again that many of the cop cars. The thing was, he asked if it was fun being on set when they mashed them. 90% of the time, we were shooting with a different unit. The second unit, the stunt unit, did most of those things. We would get there for as many of them as we could because it was a lot of fun to watch. And it was amazing. It was amazing to see. Because you throw 2 tons of metal up in the air 30 feet and bring it down, there's not much left after that. It's very violent. But it was fun to watch. Anybody else? What do you got? What's your name?
Natalie, how many times did it take you to actually, like, when you were kind of jumping into the window for the first time?
Oh, that was easy. I was telling somebody about it today. For one thing, those cars today are more like the chopped car. You know, the windows are short. And these were not. The door actually came up to about there, and the top of the door is about 6 inches wide. So you just set your ass on the door and swing your legs in. Sorry, kids, don't mean to be vile, but it's really simple actually. The first time we slid across the hood was a mistake. I had actually planned to run down the hill and plant my foot on it and jump over the car, which I did in rehearsal. But then when I did it in the shot, the grass was wet and my boot heel hit and I slid across like that. And as a matter of fact, I got a 4-inch scar on my forearm from hitting the antenna where it was broke off about that short. So we did shed some blood on the show as well. Somebody else? Did we keep anything from the set after the show? I didn't really. I mean, I've been in a lot of shows, not big TV shows, but it's like I have a few things that my kids have. I have 5 children. My daughter went to Harvard University, and she took a Dukes of Hazzard lunchbox for her purse while she was on Harvard. It was a little ironic, actually. It was pretty cool. So, yeah. What's that?
It's a story about the show. All right. True story. I have a friend whose last name is Dukes. I remember when I found out that his wife was pregnant, I tried to convince him to name his daughter Daisy. And sadly, he never did it.
Oh, okay.
That's the story.
I thought maybe he named her Luke. That would be a choice. Yeah, all right. Anybody else? Hey, listen. Yes, sir. What? Where were the parents? Ostensibly, all the parents were like, had a bad LSD trip or something. I don't know. They never really said. I think somebody surmised that there was a big car accident or something that they were all involved with. And then you got to count, like, Coy and Vance showed up, and they didn't have parents either. God only knows. Maybe we were all orphans. We were all cousins, supposedly. It was, a little bit of a fairy tale. Hazzard County doesn't really exist, in case you want to know. Yeah. Anybody else? One more. Jesse, Denver Pyle. He asked, how is it to work with him? Denver was excellent. Denver was a true pro. He'd been on a bunch of shows, been on Grizzly Adams, did a bunch of stuff with Andy Griffith. He played Doris Day's grandfather, I think, on an early show. But Denver was a trip. He was really, really cool. And Great guy. I'm sure he did play a part in Bonanza. Have you seen Bonnie and Clyde? Because the sheriff at the end that sets him up, that's him. Yeah, he gets him. Denver Pyle was a really, really fine man and a good mentor to all of us. All the older guys, Denver Pyle, James Best, who played Roscoe, and Sorrel Book, who played Boss, they were all mentors. They all really took care of us and helped us through stuff. And watching Jim and Sorrel together as Boss and Roscoe, it was like Laurel and Hardy. It was insane. They were so good. And I miss all of them deeply. We're fortunate that we were always a close cast, and Kathy and John and I are the closest of friends. We still are. And it was a blessing. It was one of those shows you never know that's going to come into your life. And here I am 40 years later still signing stuff and having 8-year-olds call me a Duke boy. It's crazy. Thank you all for being here. Come on over and say hi. All right. We'll see you later. Thanks a lot.
Give it up for Tom Wopat one more time, everybody.
All right. And Tanner, nice job. Really good mentor.
Easiest job ever.
Thank you for watching the Convention Junkies coverage of the 2018 Hamilton Comic Con. Please like, comment and subscribe to see more, and let us know below what you think of this video. If you would like to help us with future projects, please visit our Patreon page.